I said to myself, like, I feel stressed out for this guy. They're depending on me to give them results so they can get out of the pinch. This guy's going to lose like over $500,000.
But is $500,000 accurate?
Yeah, across the board.
Wow.
Like 250 here, 200 here, 100 here. And to make matters worse, they're being liquidated.
Oh,
yeah,
they're selling.
They're selling. They're being forced to sell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Property Hustler Show. My name is Andrew, and today Ping and I are joined by a very special guest and friend of ours, Michael Kramp, who is a property manager. He's a co-founder of Walcott Properties, and he is a real estate investor venturing out into flips, joint venture partnerships of all kinds, and generally into rental properties. So, Michael, it's great to have you on the show.
Good to be here, guys. It's been a long time waiting.
So, Michael, you've had a pretty impressive journey so far. I mean, we've been following you pretty much straight from the get-go. You started off as a car salesman, and then you got into real estate through property management, and you're currently managing over 300 units. Is that right?
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey, and I'm excited to share the story.
Actually, something I was thinking about, how long have you technically been doing real estate now?
So it started in like 2019, so like going on the fourth.
You're 3 years complete.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for 3 years. Whenever I reflect on your journey, one of the things I always think about is, did you ever imagine it being this way? Did you ever think you would get to this point? Because you're at a pretty good growth point. I'd say you're pretty comfortable.
It's comfy, but we do have like the footsteps that we're watching you guys kind of go your direction. We're looking at that in the back of our head, like, you have 800 units, right? We're like, how can we catch up? Can we catch up quicker?
But that's also good. You never want to be the smartest guy in the room. You never want to be the biggest player. You always want to have somebody else that you can look at and see, like, what steps are they taking and what steps can I mirror or take.
When we first met you, you had your proms, right? And you told us about it, right? Because you're mentoring us. We had a kind of a blueprint you've laid out for us. We're like, okay, how do we get to 300 units quicker than they did?
And we
did, right?
You did.
Yeah.
And because we had your guidance, right? I would never think in 3.5 years, 4 years from now that I'm going to be doing a podcast with you guys. You got Property Hustlers going on, right? It's all cool. And every time I wake up every day, it's like, it's a good lifestyle. When you guys were first telling me and Roman about property management, you only kind of focused on problems. I think it was kind of to shield us getting too deep into it and getting problems. You never really told us how like rewarding it would be.
By the way, did you feel like that this was exactly what you guys were looking for? Because a lot of people, when they were saying that the real estate investing, right, or getting into real estate full time, they're thinking about passive income. They're thinking about have all the control and free time that they have. But the truth is, it's actually the opposite. Initially, like for the first couple of years, until only recently, I started seeing you guys like showing up a little bit more often. Prior to that, it's all literally grit mode. Throughout this process, did you feel like it wasn't the right decision, or you just feel like it was so fulfilling and it was exactly what you're looking for?
When I met you, I was also 20. So being 20 and hanging out with older people and being in the real estate industry, it was just kind of cool to begin with. And I knew since I was young, I kind of had to prove myself in a way where my work ethic had to kind of stand out. Did I know I was going to be this crazy? No. But when you say work and, we're doing all this work, it's not really work to me anymore. Being self-employed itself is just so rewarding that anything that comes from it, it's just lifestyle. It's just, I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
And if I don't want to do it, I just outsource it.
No, that is the true freedom, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like it got to a point where when I was first starting out and I wanted to kind of get going, I was doing a lot of cash for keys. I was doing a lot of leasing. I was doing a lot of like kind of the grunt work. It got to a point where, okay, I should just focus on growth and sales, and the stuff I don't want to do, I would just outsource it. It was a hard lesson to learn because for a long time, I always wanted to do everything. You have to have goals in mind.
The fact that you're able to even say that right now shows a tremendous amount of business maturity, being able to identify that you don't have to do everything yourself, and things that you may not be good at, it's a good idea to hire it out. Because most people, where they get stuck and they end up saying, oh, I run my own business, but they end up having a job, is when they can't outsource anything. They're just reluctant to relinquish any degree of control, so they're doing everything, and then they don't like it doing everything. Like, you don't like doing everything.
I don't like doing it. Well, I thought I did,
Not
but
anymore.
I don't know. Especially like in the winter months, the colder months, I do like to snowboard. I like to travel. Leading up to winter, I say to myself, I'm like, I gotta get systems in place where I can leave and go snowboarding and enjoy myself without having to stress what's going on back in Brantford or whatever.
So that means that you're no longer the biggest choke of your business, right? You augment it. If you do something, it's to drive it forward. It's not to keep it going day to day.
Sometimes I do have to get back into operation. I tell the people that are kind of working with me, it's just, okay, I'm going to help you. I'm going to do this, but I should be in sales growing our company so we can get to the next level.
Yeah, you step back in because you gotta do. Sometimes you do gotta do what's needed, right?
But another thing too about property management and being the sales guy and being kind of the front of the company is that those owners, when they signed up with you, you're their guy, right? And something I ran into that's biting me in my butt recently is all these clients that I've closed throughout these years, when they want to talk to someone, they want to talk to me. It's like, okay, like I entertain it because I feel bad. I know I want to continue that relationship, but I got to the point where I need an account manager. I need to get the sales, build a relationship, and then have someone be the account manager and just kind of let them know what's going on with the property. But when it comes to like kind of developing that relationship, I still talk to them, but on bigger level stuff like raising capital, sometimes cash for keys if it's an issue. Sometimes other people can't talk about that because it's a complicated subject, renovations, stuff like that.
More like a higher ticket item, right? Because if you're talking, and by the way, you're right, because a lot of times when the salespeople are kind of like forming that relationship with the clients, the reason why they sign up is literally because of you, because what you say to them, what you describe about the service, and they like it, that's why they sign up. Having that one person to do the second introduction to hand that relationship off to your team member is also really important. If you don't do that correctly, people always want to kind of come back to you.
I'm young and they know I'm young. And I'm like, the competition is not always young as well. So when they do sign up with me, the only reason they're signing up with me is because of me, not because of property management or this and that. It's because I told them what I was going to do and I'm going to do it, right?
Do you find that being young or presenting young in real estate in the field that you're in, does it serve as an advantage or disadvantage sometimes? And if either way, how do you work with that?
I have two answers, because when I was 20, building it up from the ground up, I had issues, right? Because there's so much competition and the competition was older than me. And I always thought it was a disadvantage. So I would always like, grow facial hair to try to make up for it, or try to
at least you can grow facial hair,
or lie about my age or whatever. And the first 2 years was a grind, but it got to the point where now I'm 24 and I use it as an advantage. I'll even tell you a story what happened a few days ago. So this distressed owner called me off of Google, whatever, told him, yeah, I'd like to meet you. I think I can help you, this and that. He has like 4 properties, 1 in Toronto, 1 in Hamilton, and 2 in Brantford. And his current manager is 50 years old. So he was telling me all the limitations that he's facing with this guy. Doesn't pick up the phone, doesn't have a website, doesn't have any systems in place. It's cheap, but the service is not there. And I told him, I said, I'm a young guy. We modernized our systems. We have like transparency. We have, systems we use, softwares we use to make your life easier and to report better to you. He's like, yeah, I'm my current guy. There's no reporting at all. It's just kind of blind faith. It's all fun and games when it's going well and everything's good. But when there's problems, blind faith is not good. In this particular example, a duplex in Brantford, and both tenants aren't paying. Their, shopping carts are outside. There's garbage everywhere. Obviously, they're doing like drugs and stuff like that. So it's not really a good experience for him. And I told him, I said, well, I'm a young guy and I can do this and this and this for you. And also I can back it up with transparency and systems and all the software in place. And he's like,
Google reviews too.
Yeah, and Google reviews and stuff like that. And he says, wow, okay, well, immediately he wanted to hire me. I said, okay, well, not so fast. There's a lot of problems with your property. I need to prepare for this onboarding. I said, also, you don't want to really go piss off the guy you're currently with because there's evictions in place. I said, you have to make sure all his N4s and L1s are all in place, because I don't want to take it away from him and then have to start over and wait a year to get these people out. So I said, go do some homework, let me know, and then we'll do business.
That reflects very well in your character, because then you're not just like, yeah, I'll take it. And under any circumstances, you're calculated. It shows a degree of experience. You've seen how evictions are in the past, so you know what to look out for and what to make sure is in place, so you don't just take over a situation and make it worse because you don't have all these things.
Exactly. And that comes based off experience. A couple of years ago, I probably would have blindly taken it because I was so hungry on building the business. Building the business has taught me what not to do. Just going based off experience. Okay, I've learned my lesson of not taking properties right off the bat. Do some homework, do some due diligence. And even we're getting to a point where I'm filtering more clients now. I'm not taking everybody, because I used to take everybody and there's problems with taking everybody. I'm doing more screening.
Sometimes managing landlords are actually more difficult than managing tenants. You can come across people who are just not doing things correctly, even from the landlord side. You buy the properties and then you're like, okay, I don't want to have any responsibility, and therefore I hire a property manager as a buffer.
People doing that, I tell them, I'm like, you kind of caused a lot of problems for me. So let's just take it easy. I don't want to take this on and you blame me when you give me a bunch of problems. I don't mind helping, but it's not going to be cheap.
You already mentioned a few interesting things that even landlords want. You think you have a very good understanding of what they want. Even when you're talking about transparency, I think one of the things that transparency means when people wonder how do you illustrate transparency is communication and communication tools. Being able to take a picture of the shopping cart in front of the property and send it over to them is something very simple that not a lot of people will do. So if you're using the softwares, because I'm assuming that when you converted this client or you are in the process of converting the client, these are the things they want to see: accounting, pictures, updates. They want to know what's going on. So that's what you're offering in terms of transparency, right?
Exactly. Like that's why, circling back to why I want account managers in place, is because of communication. I just found this out recently of doing some research on other competitors. Communication is lacking in a lot of property management firms. It's a big deal. I got another call because this other landlord was having trouble with their property manager. They were sharing me on kind of the service that they're getting. And this property manager just, for tenant placement approval, literally just sent the name, and that was pretty much it. I said, are you serious? How are you supposed to make a decision on the most important aspect of real estate investing off of a name? There was no credit report, there's no bank statement, like there's nothing for them to make an educational decision.
And then it makes you think, is this what my leasing agent is basing it off of, just the name? Like, where's their application and due diligence factor?
With tenant placement, if we're going to jump into that, like, it's such a big deal. I can never not be in tenant placement. It's just so difficult to put trust into someone else to make that decision. I'm like kind of like the final gatekeeper on the yes or no. I get people to do the due diligence, but when it comes down to, I make the final decision just because of how important it is. People make mistakes. I have not made a tenant placement mistake, but it does happen. And that's why you need to have that transparency with the owner. Hey, you did approve this based off the information. Stuff does happen. There are job losses. Sometimes the property's maintenance is not up to par with the tenant and they stop paying. There's a lot of things that happen, but as long as you, as a property manager, touch your bases, sent the approval email and got the approval in writing, you're off the hook.
I think what you're doing is correct, because a lot of people, when they're trying to scale out the business, right, they scale themselves up a little too quickly. They remove themselves from the approval process, and then all of a sudden the problems start happening because there's no way for them to monitor that. What you're doing right now, even though you're not 100% out of the leasing process, but at least you're still double checking at the end, right? If it's a no, at least you can stop the problem, which makes the property management operation a lot easier.
So Mikey, you started off in property management first. Obviously, you're young, looking to get into it. You started off with property management, and that has opened up certain opportunities. You learned a lot about what it means to manage rental properties. You learned a lot about what it means to deal with problems as they come along, and it really helped you build your network. And then you started getting into real estate, buying your own properties and doing your own projects, right? So what do you think helps you with what? Do you think being a property manager helps you be a better real estate investor, or being a real estate investor helps you be a better property manager? What do you find is the relationship between doing both of these things you're doing?
Yeah, 100%. It makes me a better real estate investor. Obviously, being on the ground will give you insight. I got all the confidence to kind of do what I needed to do to close a deal. I even said to myself, when Ping was actually helping me buy my first triplex, it's like, okay, well, I'm dealing with all these problems. Why can't I not just deal with them on my own? Dealing with all that property management experience made being a real estate investor so much easier.
You know what to expect.
Yeah, I know what to expect. Just going based off my personal experience with being a real estate investor, it's like I am doing like a live and flip, so it's a little bit it's easier and you can stomach it a bit better than having a whole property just rented. At least I'm living on the property. Even so, like I have another fourplex as well, and that's just easy breezy. Like knock on wood, but it's been a great experience.
One other thing that you mentioned earlier, like before we started the podcast, is that having the property management infrastructure really gives you a bit of an advantage in terms of the cost. Whatever that you need to fix up or repairs, or even like projects that you're dealing with for your own projects, you literally have the people ready to go. And again, these are your employees that you send out to other people's properties, right? So you don't have to actually hire out contractors. You don't have to outsource. Everybody that you're using is internalized.
Exactly. And most of these people are on salary. So it's as simple as, okay, they got nothing to do. I'm just going to let them do this on my property. Company's paying the salary. So it's free labor.
People go through courses to pay for education, right? And it's good to get a coach. It's good to learn, right? But the thing is that I feel that, and this is why we told you about to do property management, being in the position that you're in, it teaches you so much. It gives you so much perspective. And I think you think part of the courage that you were able to muster to even dive into your first property, because the first one's always very hard, especially at a young age, and you're dealing with that kind of money and you have to invest it into something. You need to have confidence, not just in the project, but in yourself. But managing all the properties that you're managing for others, if it's good enough for others, why is it not good enough for me? So you're able to employ all these things that you've learned into your own properties. So that definitely, I'm sure, gave you a degree of confidence.
It did. And to make matters a little bit funny is that the property I bought, next door neighbor was a person I was managing for. So it's just like, okay, I literally know this property. I manage this property. I'm going to buy the next door neighbor.
You know the tenant class, you know the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've already done your due diligence.
It was a funny story. Hey, by the way, I bought the next door neighbor across from you.
But let's quickly talk about the infill development that you and Roman did just a few months ago, right? You guys were able to really speed that process up like quite a bit. And then what was really impressive to me is that you guys were able to do it so cheaply. Like, let's quickly talk about that.
Yeah, so like our head contractor was one of our buddies. And we've given him so much work over the years when we finally got to our project at cost. And some of the things he couldn't do was like framing and kind of building the structure. So what we did was that was pretty creative. There's new homes being built on the outskirts of Brantford. So one day we just went to job site and started talking to the actual framers. And they're like, yeah, we do side jobs all the time. And like, okay, how much? And they said like 5,000 on for 2 weekends. So to build a whole store, like whole first floor and an addition on the second floor was like $5,000 labor. And then obviously we have accounts elsewhere to get
how many square feet was that?
Let's just say 1,000 square feet.
And that was also with a second story. That's an amazing price. Professional framers, and these guys are doing it to code every day. There's no question, no doubt about it. Did you have to supplement it? Like, was it just framing, or did you go in and have to do the foundation work, or how did that work?
Foundation we did in-house.
So you did the foundation, got somebody else to do the framing, and then you had your team contractor guy come in and do all the rest of the finishing work.
Exactly. Even with the downturn in the market, with our strategic renovations and keeping costs down low, we're still going to come out with good profit, even in a downturn market.
Whose idea was that? Was it your idea or Roman's idea?
For what part?
To like find a local trade.
Roman's. He was doing more of the project management, and my job was in the flip was to keep the company from burning down.
I can already imagine Roman doing that, because I can just imagine the conversation like, bro, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk to these people. Yeah, they want to make some side money.
Yeah,
by the way, that understanding of people, it's something fundamental that I feel will help anybody just be able to get things done, right? In real estate, we talk a lot about how there's the yellow brick road aspect where people want the road paved, but in all honesty, you have to be able to think how to just make things happen, how you solve problems in property management. You mentioned cash for keys. It's like, you try to avoid the legal system. The legal system's a yellow brick road, but you try to think how to actually get things done. So I feel like you guys are already trained.
Yeah, speaking of the legal system, that is not an option for us anymore.
I thought that's your favorite part.
Yeah, I mean, waiting 9 months for a hearing is not sustainable for anyone, I think, because think about it, missing 9 months of rent for some people that bought near the top, it's impossible. I know someone that recently bought like a 5-plex for like 1.5, and the reason why it was so much was because it was land as well. They're trying to develop the land. Their financing, it was all flawed. It was private money. The monthly burn rate on the property is 12,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'll never make that up.
Yeah, and you can't. And to make matters worse, no one's paying.
No one
so
is freaking
not
paying.
only did they buy at the top, but when they did the due diligence, they didn't even kick tenants out or ask for vacant possession. It's just a mess.
So what's your role in that?
I was hired to do cash for keys and to do the property management. This individual also has other properties. We got the portfolio from them. So it was like 3 properties, 1 5-plex, 1 6-plex, and 1 4-plex. Across the board, it's just a nightmare.
How are you handling that right now? Like, because obviously I would assume that the landlords now be feeling very stressed out and there's a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, exactly. And I said to myself, like, I feel stressed out for this guy. Like, they're depending on me to give them results so they can get out of the pinch. This guy's going to lose like over $500,000 on the 3 properties. And it's like, this is stressful. So I told him, I said, I'm going to try my best, but your stress is coming on to me. I need to be compensated.
Is $500,000 accurate?
Yeah, across the board.
Wow.
Like 250 here, 200 here, 100 here. And to make matters worse, they're being liquidated.
Oh,
yeah,
they're selling.
They're selling. They're being forced to sell. And I'm dealing with like
this is partnerships falling apart.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's partnerships falling apart. When I was signing him on, did I know this was going to happen? No. Actually, the individual I was talking to is not even in the picture anymore. So I'm dealing with new partners that I haven't even really met. It's all over the phone and emails, right? I was building a relationship with him. And now I have to like kind of pivot. And
this is what we're sometimes talking about, is that how would you possibly gain this perspective and awareness if you weren't in the position that you're in? You're essentially the problem solver that these groups, that these partners, that these investors need. So you come into the picture and it exposes you to all these problems. They pretty much are paying you to say, here, can you think of how to solve these problems for us? And
I told him, I'm like, my hair's going to turn gray if like it's I'm stressed out.
I thought you were looking a little shiny.
Yeah,
actually.
Like my hair's thinning out for these guys.
Yeah.
Like it's a big deal, and like I want to obviously make a difference and try to save the money, but it's almost too late. Like the banks are reaching out to property management saying, hey, like, you know, we're going to get this property ready for sale.
Oh, they're
and
defaulting on the
they're
mortgage
defaulting
already.
on mortgages. And like,
So they come to you.
yeah, the banks are just bypassing the
So even the
owners.
banks come to you for cooperation.
Exactly.
You're
And
a popular guy.
yes, funny enough, some of like the connections that you're making kind of like behind the scenes are pretty cool too.
When you say behind the scene connections, what is it that you mean?
One of the realtors that was appointed to sell the property reached out to me and he wanted to meet me. I don't really want to meet this realtor. Like, I am busy. To make matters worse, I had to drive 45 minutes to meet him. Whatever. It's okay. I said, okay, fine. So I go to meet him. He pulls up in a G-Wagon, a $350,000 car. I'm like, who is this guy? He's like Russian. So I was like, is this like guy the Russian mafia? So I was so intrigued. And he actually got a liking to me because he's a bit older than me. And we started talking over some coffee. And he was saying how when he was my age, he started a property management firm. He started at 18. I started at 20. So we had something in common. He told me to reach out to him. So I did. And he invited me to his mega mansion in Toronto to have a barbecue. So just like stuff like that. It's just.
But why? Like, what was the point of this?
I think it was because he told me that he had a buddy wanting to retire out of the property management scene. He wanted to kind of focus on other things. This guy has over 100 units. I can easily pick up 100 units just by talking to one guy.
So he's making connections with you to substitute that other position.
Exactly. And this came from a property that's being repossessed. Property management is just crazy like that. You never know what's going to happen.
You can build that relationship very quickly. And sometimes you are actually one contact away from making a like good sales.
One connection away from quickly scaling the business up 50% overnight.
Has any of these connections led to you being able to get a deal on a property?
There are definitely deals that come our way.
Yeah.
Nothing that's like a home run where we have to like act
But there's
quickly.
just deals.
There's deals, yeah.
Yeah.
Circling back to the property that's being foreclosed on, they want to sell it before the bank sells it because in order to, when the bank repossess, they have to advertise it. So they're just going to get low balls anyway. So we do have an in to get that property. And I actually talked to a buyer about it. I actually presented it and there's a $50K difference that I would make if I connected the two.
You don't have to be a realtor to do that. You're a facilitator.
You literally just got to tell the seller, sign this agreement, put your $50K, assignment fee, wholesale fee, and then just flip the contract. And then funny enough, the same guy that I'm flipping it to would keep me on. It would actually compensate me to do cash or keys. That's another thing that we're running into with this client is they don't have any money to pay me.
You just touched on something I think is really important because you just mentioned the hitter. You just said you make $50K as part of a byproduct of your property management business. So one of the things I think we should talk about now is all the different ways that you're able to make money because it's not just the property management. It's not just the leasing. There's peripheral money here that isn't just small money. It can be big money. So why don't we talk about that? Tell me a few other ways that you're able to generate revenue through property management.
Well, we've already talked about cash or keys.
Yeah.
I'll quickly just touch on that. Cash or keys is something that no one wants to deal with. It's a very awkward situation to be in. You're literally telling someone that they need to move. Majority of the time, these units are below market rent. They don't want to move. They've been there for years. It's their home. In order to have a conversation like that, it's very awkward. You definitely got to plant some seeds along the way to facilitate the actual N11 being signed. It takes a lot of time, and not only time, it's pretty stressful too. We typically charge anywhere from like, depending on the client, anywhere from 2 to 5K. It is a money back guarantee, so if we're not successful, we don't charge for it.
And that's something that also, how do you even train or teach somebody or find somebody with the skill set to do that? You have to have a very step into a situation kind of personality in order to be able to facilitate that.
Yeah, and you know what? Cash or keys is starting to bother me personally. I used to do it and I still do it, but I am looking to train someone to do it. It is something that needs to be touched on almost daily. You have to remind the tenant, you have to tell them, you have to encouraging them. A lot of back and forth and a lot of encouragement. It's never like malicious. You're always trying to create a win-win situation because when the tenant's leaving, they are getting compensated for leaving. We have to do this, but we have to do it in a way where, you know, the landlord wins, we win, and the tenant wins as well. Another avenue, project management fees.
Yeah.
When doing renovations, not many people have connections, especially if they're investing, like if they're not in Brantford, they don't know anyone but the management company. So as a management company, we have to present contractors that are professional, will hit deadlines. We know how to get like materials on site quickly and cost effective, right? So in that service, we include a project management fee.
So you can include a project management fee on top of that, where you were able to cost down. Those savings actually also go to you then.
We are taking all the risk on the renovation. Like a pipe gets hit, it starts to burst. Who's going to pay for that, right? In that fee, there are services like even getting materials on site. Like who's going to do that?
Yeah.
Right? You got to make sure it's being done.
But you have your property management infrastructure to help facilitate that.
So yeah, those are two avenues. Another one that's recently been done was I knew a property was about to be sold. The owner told me, and I reached out to my realtor, put them together, referral fee.
That's easy.
It's $2,000, right? For just connecting phone numbers together.
Property management to pay the daily, like just pay the regular bills, right? And then the rest is like kind of like a bonus here and there. Sometimes it's small bonus, sometimes it's big bonus.
Exactly.
Right,
You
but
never
it's-
know. With property management, you never know who you're going to meet. And majority of the time when you're doing property management, it's for business owners, it's for doctors, lawyers, high net worth individuals.
Yeah,
That's something I really like about property management.
you mentioned that before about the type of clients that you're getting, dentists, doctors, people who are, partnering up into group ventures. Have you worked with any of these people more closely, or has this relationship led to JVs or anything else you've been able to take advantage of?
JVs will come from these relationships. One case I could probably let you know about is like we needed construction funds and we need to raise $60,000 in like 2 days. I got on the phone, called 2 people, and I got it. So
Wow.
just stuff like that.
Because they trust you.
Yeah, they trust me, and that was unsecured too, and it
Wow.
was interest free. So it's just people that like you as a person. They want you to succeed. Unsecured, 0%. Come on, like no one's gonna do that.
That's a favor.
Yeah,
that's a favor. That's
Yeah.
a favor, and even family won't even do that.
Yeah, no, seriously, they might charge you more, right?
Yeah, they might even charge you more. So
Yeah,
it's a
'cause
love
they-
loan, right?
Yeah, that's funny.
So it's just
Love.
property management's so useful and it's so resourceful.
Your property management business is your network.
It is,
Yeah,
and you know what? It's not even work at this point. It's just a lifestyle.
It's just a
Wow, that's good. I like that.
And another kind of sweet hookup was like one of our clients owns a car rental company in Toronto. And not just like a car rental company, like an exotic car rental company.
Mhm.
So I did a cash for keys deal for him, and he gave me an Audi Q8 for like a month.
Wait,
And
Did he from through his rental company?
yeah, through his rental company. And he's just like, yeah, here you go.
Did he give you the Audi rental in lieu of cash or in lieu of payment, or did he pay you and give you the car?
Yeah, there was a small fee associated, and then it was also like a favor, like giving me the Q8 because he has a lot of properties with us.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly doing cash for keys for him.
Yeah.
So it's just a favor. We're boys, right? Like same guy actually took me out to Ruth Chris Steakhouse.
Oh, it's the same guy.
$500 for 2 steaks. It was ridiculous. I did not need to go there.
Yeah, I know. That's funny. That's the prime example of how money's not the only currency, right? Because that makes you value him as a person, right?
Exactly.
It's not just about the money.
When something goes wrong with his properties, I was like, we got to deal with this right now. Like,
Yeah.
because I feel he's not only a client, but he's also my friend.
You've obviously grown your property management company to this point. So I think a lot of people who are considering maybe doing this or want to know, what does your day-to-day look like? Like, what does this lifestyle entail for you?
I mean, my day-to-day as of now, it's really just focusing on the operation, making sure the operation's going good. If I have to jump into a situation, I will. If I have to touch on something, I will. Really, I'm focusing more on sales. So as long as sales is being good, it gives me freedom to do other things like focus on eating right, going to the gym, going on bike rides, going snowboarding, doing what I want to do, just making sure that the day-to-day of the company is being taken care of.
But you're not working like 9 to 5.
I'm working like 1 hour in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, 3 hours in the evening. Obviously, if there's a day where I need to really get going, I will do a 9 to 9.
But then
Right.
that means that some days there's hardly anything.
There's always something.
Okay.
There's always something.
Let's
like
make sure we set the expectation
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
there's always something, and don't think weekends are complete write-off. There's weekend stuff. Who's really going to be responding to those calls on Christmas Eve or New Year's or stuff like that, right?
Mikey.
Exactly. Well, I will facilitate the call, but I won't actually be going to the property. I'll be sending someone, but I still need to be involved in sending someone, or someone else needs to be involved in sending someone.
Sometimes people like that kind of consistent where they know that there is 9 to 5 or whatever, but then the question is that if you really need to take some time off, can you actually do it? And in your case, the schedule is slightly unpredictable, but you can actually design your day however you want.
It's definitely a spontaneous schedule, but that's how I like to kind of operate anyways. So if I have to do something and something comes up, I'm expecting it, I know about it, it's really easy. And if I have to take time off, I can. But that's also because I'm working so hard in the beginning of the year or middle of the year that I can take that year off, or sorry, a couple months off if I want to go snowboarding or whatever. And when I say couple months off, I'm still working on my phone. It's just I don't need to be there on the ground, right?
Nice.
Because I have an infrastructure and team.
So you're managing all these types of properties. Are you expanding that now? Are you growing into any different types of properties, different types of clientele? What's next?
As property managers, we have different avenues of getting leads and getting clients to just talk to them, right? One of the platforms we use is bark.com. And a lead came through that, and it was a commercial plaza lead. Not any commercial plaza lead, one of the biggest commercial plazas in Brantford. I was driving at the time. As soon as I saw it, I pulled over, contacted him. That was early September. I'm still in talks with him. We're going into December. It's a long process, but I've had really good conversations with him. I've had a few interviews with him. I'm kind of the guy that they're looking at. So by the time this this airs, I could be a commercial property manager as well.
Well, that's actually another avenue that is highly lucrative. And if you learn how to systemize that properly, I think commercial property management like plazas, they can be a pretty penny.
Yeah, and I didn't even know how lucrative it was. When I started hearing some numbers that they were paying other people, I was like,
those guys are getting robbed.
I was like, you guys are getting scammed.
Yeah.
I would do that for half the price, and it's big money too. Like I could double the company profit in like overnight.
It seems like there is a growth trajectory for you to go through.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mikey, with that all being said, I feel like you've already shared like tons of really great and valuable information. Like we would want to be able to talk even about more things that have gone wrong, some horror stories. Property managers have some of the best horror stories to share. It's just perspective that people would never get anywhere else. We should probably start wrapping it up and talk about if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, because you're obviously covering a lot of Southern Ontario. How do they get in touch with you if they wanted you to help them with their property management needs?
Yeah, so we are covering Brantford, Hamilton, all the way to Toronto in between.
Yeah.
So if you need to contact me, my Instagram is Mikey K. So that's MIKEEY_K. Alternatively, you can email me at michael@walcottproperties.ca.